it's not family based. It's all Garifuna people. Like you could go to different towns because it's big,
right?
And you'll see everybody, doing their own thing. And we're also Garifuna people. We're also in Belize, in Panama, and we're in Guatemala.
Kind of spread across.
So we're spread out, but the mainland where we started mostly is St. Vincent, and then we have the biggest population in Honduras.
All right, welcome to another episode of Diasporas podcast. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Tina. If you're new to the podcast, this is a podcast where immigrants talk about their stories. They talk about their transition from their home country to America. And today I'm excited because it's the first time in the history of the podcast I'm going to have a second generation Honduran here to tell us a little bit about our culture and traditions from Honduras. I'm really fascinated about a lot of things about Honduras. So I'm really excited you take the time to come through. So just to start, so what part of Honduras are you from, or your mom is from?
So my parents are from two different areas. My dad's from the capital. Do I look over here?
You can just look at
okay.
me. Yeah, no worries.
So my dad's from the capital, and my mom is from like a small town, like a village. So my mom is from Puerto Cortes, and my dad is from Tela. Tela is one of our biggest cities. It's like our capital is Tegucigalpa, but Tela was known to be our capital once before.
Right.
So my dad's from Tela. My mom's from Puerto Cortes. Yep.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So, how long ago did your mom move here?
So my mother came when she was 21, and my dad came when he was 14.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, tell me a little bit more about Honduras. I know you've been there. You say you've been traveling to Honduras since you were a baby, right?
Mm-hmm. So, like we were talking earlier, when people ask me where you're from, I always say I'm from Honduras. Right. I don't say I'm American or anything because I identify more with the country where my parents were born because of how I was raised here in the United States. And I truly believe America, United States, belongs to the natives. And that's who's originally from this land. Right. So I consider myself to be from Honduras. This was just my place of birth. Right. But Honduras is a beautiful country. I also identify myself as an Afro-Latina, which is a new title that people are more aware of now. Meaning I have some Afro descendants within me. So we're not for better terms, but we're Spanish blacks.
Right.
So Honduras has a mixture of people that are maybe Mayans, Aztec, and then we have the Carib people, which would be the people that are more melanated or brown-skinned. And we're also mixed. So our culture is... has some Afro and some like Aztec. So it's very unique. And in Honduras, we speak, the land language is Spain because Honduras was conquered by Spain. So everybody in Honduras speaks Spain. But Garifuna people, which is my tribe, as an Afro-Latina they're called Garifuna people. We have our own language, which is a man-made language that was... something that people that were captured, they developed to protect themselves, to communicate. And that language is called Garifuna, just like they call themselves. Garifuna.
And people in Honduras, I can see how you pronounce it. You're already correcting me.
Yeah.
They speak Spanish, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you speak Honduran, Spanish and... What's that? Garifuna. So that's not the language?
So there's two languages, but only people that, look like you and I speak Garifuna.
Okay.
So the tribe, we consider ourselves our tribe, and we're a community within Honduras, and we speak Garifuna, we speak Spanish. Right. Our elders, meaning my grandmother, rest in peace, and my mother and my sister, they fluently speak it.
Okay.
And me, I understand. I can only say a few things.
Right.
My cousins back in my country, they all speak it, which is beautiful, and it's something like we want to preserve.
Right.
So we try to pass it on, but you know, a lot of people are becoming Americanized,
Right.
and they're really not into being unique, and
Right.
they're shy about it. Like when they come to America, my cousins don't speak that language to me.
They don't want to stand out.
They don't want to stand out.
Right.
They want to fit in. So they kind of lose the culture, and then they have children, and then their children lose. So right now, the big thing right now is that we believe that we're guided through our ancestors as well. And they're coming back and saying, don't lose who you are. Don't lose your identity.
So do you guys have any cultural traditions that you guys still do right now?
Oh, very much. Yes, very much. So for the most part, we did take on some Christian Catholic.
Right.
But we do also have our own traditions with mostly it's with God and nature. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Sebi.
Yeah.
So Dr. Sebi is also from Honduras.
Really?
So we're big on health. We're big on nature.
Food,
and
right?
Food.
That's healing, right?
And so food is healing. The earth is healing, and we believe that God left everything on earth for us. So you know, I'm a healthcare professional. I'm a registered nurse, but I haven't taken, with the grace of God, I haven't taken any antibiotics in 9 years.
Wow.
Because there's medicine on earth for us to utilize, like oregano oil, oregano tea. Right. It's very effective. It's as strong as penicillin. Right. So those are some of our traditions, and we kind of have respect for Mother Nature, and that all plays a role into our religion. Like when the seasons change, we do prayer and we give thanks for like the new season, the new crops, and we wear traditional clothes and we come out with drums, and when the suns come out and we're playing drums and we're thanking God and we're thanking singing the earth, and we're saying thank you for the crops, or thank you for letting us, you know, go into this next season.
So are most of your traditions and culture kind of more family based, kind of gathering, stuff like that? Is it individual?
It's not family based. It's all Garifuna people. Like you could go to different towns because it's big.
Right.
And you'll see everybody, you know, doing their own thing. But keeping up to whatever it is, whatever season we're in, whatever cultural thing we're doing, everybody's doing it at that time. And we're also Garifuna people. We're also in Belize, in Panama, and we're in Guatemala.
Kind of spread across.
So we're spread out, but the mainland where we started mostly is St. Vincent, and then we have the biggest population in Honduras.
Right. So if you don't mind, you want to tell me a little bit more about your grandma, on kind of just on the part of culture and tradition, like what part of culture or what kind of tradition, what are the things that you think you learned from her that kind of represent your culture?
My grandma, she was a beautiful lady, a strong woman. She passed in 2020 from cancer that she battled. She was in remission for a couple of years, so it was her fourth strike. Just to show you how strong women can be, she never took any painkillers. Even in her deathbed, I would call the doctor and say, give her morphine, and she said she don't need it. Just to
see you're a nurse, right?
Yeah, so I became that family member where I was just calling, and you know, I didn't want to let her go because she was just a staple to our family, and she was the head of the family. And that's how it is in our culture. The man is, of course, the head of the household, but the woman is the head of the family, right. You know. And what my grandma always taught us to be nice to people, right, and to put value in ourself and our uniqueness. And she would make sure that even us being here in the United States and being in Massachusetts, where I'm originally from, which has a small Garifuna community in New York, big, Texas, big. So she would make sure that we're going to New York to participate in these events to, you know, withhold our family traditions and stuff. So she was really big on that, big on family and making sure we were all united, you know. She had 2 daughters and 1 son, and my mother had all girls. So you know how it could be with girls. We could be catty. I'm not talking to her. So my grandma was the one that would bring us all together. Right. And, you know, I miss that from her. But I'm very grateful that she taught us to be proud women and hardworking women. Funny, she always encouraged us to work hard, but my grandma never worked a day in her life. She never worked a day in her life. That's the most African thing I ever heard. You know, she never worked. That's the funniest thing.
Maybe she worked, you just didn't see it.
No, she never worked.
She just know how to move.
Yeah, but she was strong. I saw my grandma's cutting grass with a machete. My grandma at 73 years old, she was riding a bike. She was a great farmer, a great cook, a great healer, big in prayer. She passed away as a pastor, evangelist, I believe. So she was a woman of faith, and yeah, she just told us all to be strong women, hardworking women, and to respect our body, mind, and soul. And she taught us a lot of life secrets.
So basically, you can say some of like the values that you are still processing right now are from her teachings and her reminding you. That's big because as someone, I'm first generation, but still sometimes, you know, I've been in my culture for 20 years. So when I came here, I was excited to experience something new.
Okay.
And it's kind of interesting because going back home now, I was just reminded because sometimes some part of your culture might be annoying. Maybe some parties are like, not what you want it to be, but like you just reminded me, it's like it's your culture and you just have to fight to preserve it. Because no culture is perfect, as we know, even in American here. You know, the more you know about the culture here, the more you see like it's far from perfect, right?
Yeah.
Every culture has that part of it that's annoying or doesn't just align with what you want to do, but still you just have to make sure you preserve it. Yeah, thank you for talking about that. Now,
am I allowed to ask you a question?
Yeah, you can't even want to. You can't even want to. Yeah, it's just a podcast. I mean, I want to know more about you, but you can ask me anything.
Yeah.
What do you ask me?
There's something that I feel like you're first generation, second generation that it's a sensitive talk. How deep can I go? Can I go deep?
You can go deep.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries.
How do you feel like when you break these barriers, like within your family?
Right.
And let's just say you're the one that made it. Do you feel like, do you sometimes feel guilty about it? What is your role? Because what I'm trying to get to is that family, sometimes when you are that person that broke barriers that are in a more successful state,
right,
you gain responsibilities that you didn't know as far as like helping out the family. Now you become the person that, hey, there's an issue. We need $1,000 for this. Hey, there's a problem. Someone's sick. They need to go to the hospital. We need $500.
Right.
How do you feel about that? And does that do you feel guilty sometimes about the success you acquired?
Right. Wow, that's a deep question. Thank you for asking
that. That's why I asked you if it
was
okay.
Thank you for asking that because, you know, these are the topics that I'm hoping we can start discussing. You know, I know enough to know that there's no one right answer to most questions, and I don't know enough about every situation. But I can tell you about my situation. So first, I'm the fourth born, so I don't have the responsibility of my firstborn. But exactly what you just discussed, every one of my friends have gone through it. I go through it too.
Yeah.
But this is one thing I learned. I think as the person that's here, you know, I used to judge people back at home about the way they were asking me for money or whatever. Going back home was, I can say, it's almost like a refresher to really know how hard Africa is. Africa is just a hard place to survive. Yeah. Even though I made it here, I forgot how stressful everything is. Yeah. With that being said, it's also stressful here. But we that are here, we can never expect someone that doesn't live here to understand how stressful it is.
Okay.
And also, there's some blankets that are available in Africa, right? Everybody there is broke, so people lend each other money. If something happened, people have a way of surviving.
Yeah.
Here, I always tell my wife that I'm one decision away from being homeless, and I'm one decision away from being broke. What I mean by that is, if I make one decision, I could be homeless tomorrow. Legit, like, you know what I meant exactly, right?
Yeah.
Something happened in my relationship, and whatever happens, this house is gone, my car is gone. So like, but people back in Africa don't know that, because if something like that happened, they can go tell someone, they can tell a pastor, they can have someone to talk to. So now let me go full circle. This is what I've learned so far. When you're the first person to break a barrier, I think you owe it to yourself to also educate yourself that you don't know where you are right now. So what I did was, right about maybe 4 years ago, before I even had become a citizen, people think I have money because I post stuff on Instagram.
Exactly.
And they will ask me all this money. And I used to take time to explain to them. I think it's not fair for me to try and explain to them, because they will never understand. So this is what I did. I try to start on learning things. So what I mean by that is, I don't expect them to understand. So unfortunately, I had to get rid of some people, and that was hard. Family members. I don't talk to a lot of my cousins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even when I went home, I didn't see them. But if I'm being honest with you, there's no real value I can add to those people right now.
Yeah.
When I went home, even some of my friends I saw, except for like one, we are so different people now.
Yeah. You
and
evolve, you grow.
And they have evolved in their own way too.
Yeah.
But they've seen me in a different way now. I'm going there looking for friendship. They are looking for money. So it doesn't align anymore. So I think as a first generation, it takes discipline to understand that you are not Jesus Christ. You can solve everybody's problem. And unfortunately, one of my friends also told me a very important thing. Like, if someone asks you for something like money and you give it to them, you're just solving that problem for a day. So what I try to do is this. I really tried. All my brother in London, my brother are back at home. I try to give people books. I try to educate them. If they ask me something, I try and listen and then figure out how I can help them solve that problem instead of just giving money. Because I think, the money can help. Sometimes people are in a situation where they need the money.
Yeah,
but even still, I only give what I can afford, because you know this, if we get into problem here, we can't call anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to solve it on our own.
Or when you're in difficulties, it's not always a monetary thing. This is what I tell my family. Call me. You don't know how many times I'm alone and I'm sad. Look, I'm a travel nurse. I go to communities and I don't know anybody. How nice would it be to get a call from my cousin or a call from that aunt to just talk with me and say, how you doing today?
But the problem with my side, at least, is they know every time I open myself up to those relationships, 2 weeks into that, I will get a deal.
Yeah.
So, I've
had that experience.
So, like, my long story short, I understand this, right? Everything in life is sacrifice. So to me, I think one of the things I sacrifice is being alone. And even like I tell you, it's hard right now, just being with family for months and coming back and being alone. But I understand, like, if I'm not alone, I will be able to be who I am right now. And it's emotional intelligence to understand that I cannot solve everybody's problem. And the best way I'm actually helping everybody else is by taking care of me first.
Yeah.
And then when I get to where I can actually help, because also to, like, if you go back, when I went back home, I realized the situation is so bad, like worse than I thought. Like, where am I going to start from? I can't give everybody money.
I know. You wish you can fix everything, and yeah, I know.
But I think the best way, like you just said, is the person that is the first generation to understand, like, the best way to take care of other people is take care of themselves first, and then just do what they can afford, because those people are gonna leave, man. If unfortunately something happens to me and I died, they're gonna leave tomorrow.
That's true.
So unfortunately,
no, thank you. I just wanted to hear your opinion, because it's something like I go through a lot. Sometimes I want to share moments of my life on Facebook, and I have to think twice, because if I do, I'm gonna have all these DMs like, hey cousin, can you send me this? Can you send me that? And I want to help. But the reason I asked you is because I finally found a video on YouTube. I forget the guy's name. He went and he sat with all his elder grandmas and he asked them, why do you guys feel like this? And they talked about it's a sense of community. It's how it happened back. If you go back in time, where you find something, you bring it back to the tribe and you share with everybody.
Right.
You leave the tribe and you come back with something.
Right.
And it's everyone, because everyone, you're a part of everyone, and they're a part of you. But he said that you guys may think that, but that's not it anymore. It's not like everyone's worried about me when I'm out there.
Right.
You know, and when I bring it back, it's not going to the community, it's going to individual people. So I took a lot from that. So right now in my country, just like a lot of Caribbean countries and Middle Eastern countries, HIV is a thing. So I don't like to give individual money. I like to give money for a purpose. So back home, like I would donate money to like the village clinic, or I'll bring supplies for schools, and I'm into like giving money for backpacks and stuff of that nature. And if there's an emergency, if there's a group that we're all donating to help this person in the hospital, then I will participate. But I don't like doing individualized things. And that's how I give back to my community. And I give what I can. So if I'm at Macy's or I'm at Nordstrom, which I have a shop at Addiction, and I'm at Nordstrom and I see some red bottoms, I'm like, damn, I can pay $1,100 for this. Or I can buy, the Village Clinic, a Criticon, something to take vitals. And I'll make that choice. And it's rewarding to me. So that's how I flipped it. But yeah,
that's amazing. I mean, you already said two things there. Going back to the guy you talked about. The guy said after he gets something, right now the problem is we don't have money. Most foreigners, most diasporans like myself, we're broke. Like I just told you, we are one decision away from being broke or homeless. You're broke financially because if you don't have 2-3 houses, or you don't have like backup plans that if something happened, like say your situation got to worst case scenario, you have like 20 grand, 50 grand stashed up, which we don't. It's just we're starting from, it's almost like a game that's already started. We are halfway into these games. People already grow up here as citizens. I have to fight for my citizenship. I have to fight for a lot of things. So yeah, so I just think that's important to understand. Like bringing things back means once you are already successfully rich, that you can afford it, then you can bring it back to the community at your own time. Yeah. And also I think what you just said is very, very important, that people should always remember. When you're giving stuff, my dad used to tell me, it's about you. You should give stuff willingly, what you are comfortable, not what someone wants you to, not how someone wish you should, because that's not fair. Someone judging you for how you, whatever is comfortable for you is what you should do that. But anyway, that's a really good segue. I'm actually glad we talked about that, because now I run out of stuff to talk about sometimes. So, so now let's talk about food, because let's get into food. Yeah. So what are some good Honduras food?
Ooh, don't get me started.
Yeah, get started.
So I love baleadas.
What is that?
So baleadas is like a flattened bread, almost like a tortilla.
Okay.
But it's made with flour, coconut milk, a little butter. So it's like a flat bread. It looks like something like they would eat in the Middle East. It's funny. So it's flat. And then you put frijoles, which is beans. You use black beans. And you stir fry the black beans. And it becomes kind of like a paste. And you put that in there. Then you put crema. Crema to us is like a cream cheese, but it's liquid.
Okay.
And then you put cheese, and then you have the option to add eggs, avocado, and then you add your protein if you want.
Okay.
Some people like it simple, some people like it super with the protein in it.
Everything.
And that is like my favorite dish.
Is that on the streets in Honduras? Can you get on the street?
Can you get on the street? Yeah, every day street vendors that
every city kind of like it's everywhere.
But my mother makes the best. So I drive to my mom's house and she makes it. Then we have another dish that's more Afro Garifuna tribe meal, which is called the machuca. Machuca. Okay. So machuca is plantains, the green plantains.
Okay.
You boil it, you mash it. You mash it till it becomes like a fufu. It's
Right.
our own fufu.
Yeah.
And then you fry fish lightly, not fully. Fry fish and you just, cut it up a little bit. And then you make a broth. The broth is coconut water and coconut milk. And then you put cilantro, oregano, cumin, pepper. You season your broth. And then you throw in the fish.
Okay.
Then you throw in seafood. You could throw in lobster, shrimp, anything you want.
Okay.
And then it becomes like a soup. Then you have like the machuca, which is the mashed plantain, like it's the fufu.
Okay. I'm with that one. That's something fabulous.
It's delicious.
So is that everywhere, or do you have to go to a restaurant for that?
That you can eat it at a restaurant, or you could cook it at home. But every restaurant, like they have a lot of beachside restaurants.
Right.
So all those restaurants have they have that dish, but it's expensive because usually they come with lobster.
Or like in Honduras.
Yeah. But my mom, she would make it like on a Sunday now and then.
Right.
And like I said, we're big on communities. So there's a lot of women and immigrant men.
Right.
So my mom right now my mom cooks.
Right.
She's retired. So people like she doesn't let people pay her. So what she does is bring groceries. So people bring groceries to her. She'll cook and then she'll call them and they'll pack their lunch for work. And then Sunday her house is full. So full that people have to sit outside. So mom,
that is crazy.
Yeah, that's tradition that my grandmother instilled into us.
So you can cook those food?
Oh yeah.
All right. You gotta put down some.
I want to check the baleada, that one. I can't make it like my mom. Something about my mom.
One?
Yeah, the one with the fufu, all that. Yeah,
you got
but
that?
I can make it. But we use this thing.
Like a porter.
Yes, but it's big.
Yeah, I know.
We put it between our legs.
And then you have to mash.
And then we mash. So
yeah,
I have that back home. I can do like the Americanized version, but
I'll take it. I'll take the spoken version.
Okay, then when I come back, I'm making it, and I'll have you and your wife come over.
It's kind of interesting how you were saying like there's so many similarities in culture, and I think
very
that's
much
I've learned so far. It's like it's almost it's a white blanket. We're so similar than we actually realize. All right, so I'm gonna segue a little bit. So now let's talk about music. So we already covered food. So what kind of music is popular in Honduras? Is it reggaeton? Is it hip hop? What is it?
We listen to everything, but we have our own music. It is called punta.
Punta.
Punta. Punta.
What does it sound like?
Oh, it's beautiful. So it's a very fast-paced song, and you dance it with your legs and your hips.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looks like Zamba a little bit. It's beautiful, and it's fun to dance for women and men. That's our heritage music. We also listen to a lot of calypso. We listen to old school reggae, old blues, old country rock, like old country rock. But a lot of calypso, a lot of Alpha Blondie, a lot of Lucky Doobie, Barris Hyman, Bob Marley. A lot of music like that. And then we listen to Spanish music. We listen to some bachata, some merengue. What else do we like? We like reggae. A lot of reggaeton. We listen to reggaeton. And we listen to Afrobeats now. That's a thing out there.
It's taking over the world. It's kind of crazy.
And we actually are incorporating Afrobeats in our music now. So there's some artists, some like hip rap Spanish artists from Honduras, and they put using Afro beats.
They're gonna make the music.
Yeah.
Who's the biggest artist? Bless you, in Honduras right now that people need to know about?
Big ones that I would say are there's bands.
Right.
So the bands, like the big one is like Casabe. I come from a family of musicians.
All right.
So my uncles, they had a band called the Urumin Band, and they played a lot of punta music growing up. Let's see. I don't know. I don't want to just pick one. There's one that specifically I was in a music video. Check out Gilili Ramos on YouTube.
Okay.
and I'm on one of his music
Gilly
videos.
Ramos.
Gilili.
Gilili.
So it's Gilli.
Oh,
Li Ramus.
Okay.
So he has a song, I think it's Mia Simban, something like that, and I was in that, and that's actually telling a story, coming to America as an immigrant. So it's telling his story on what happened on his journey coming to America as what we call mojado. Mojado means illegally. So he came with my cousin, who was his wife at the time, and their child, and they tried to cross the border. And basically, she was able to cross over because she was a mother with child, and they held him. So when she came to this country, 1 month she would stay at one family member's house, and they would be like, "Oh well, we can only have you for a month." Then she would go to another family member's, and then
Just to survive.
So the song is basically saying what happened to our community, our tribe. We used to have each other's back, and then. So that's what the song. So it's a song that in my country, I actually was a little bit famous back home for being in that, and I didn't even know. And I guess it's a song where you play it, people start crying.
Wow.
Because a lot of people can relate to that experience, coming to this country and not having any family.
Right.
So to me, because of his artistic way and his poetic way, Gilili Ramos
Is your favorite?
My favorite artist, hands down.
So let's go back to like what you just touched on a little bit. Like, how was it? How was it for you growing up in the state? And what I mean by that is, as someone that your parents and your grandma and your mom heavily teach you about Honduras culture, which I think you just started a whole new genre of this podcast, because before I've always talked to first generation people like me, but I think you just opened my mind that there are people that maybe they are born here, but also they have so much of their culture taught to them that can speak it just like you were speaking it. You've been speaking in the past, since we've been talking, and since I met you. So I was that growing up for you? Like, was it good? Was
awful.
Was it tough?
Awful. And I just want to speak my truth of how awful it was. And we may not be first generation, but might as well, because we go through the same thing. Growing up, my mom was a housewife in the beginning, so she was only Spanish speaking. Everybody in my house only spoke Spanish and Garifuna. So I didn't speak English, even though I was born in the United States. I didn't speak English till the 2nd grade, and it was very difficult for me. So even though I was American born, I was placed into ESL or like courses like that.
To kind of begin.
And because there weren't a lot of people like myself, meaning Afro-Latina, when you're different, a lot of people can assimilate, especially children, so they isolate you. So I was very isolated growing up. I dealt with a lot of bullying. I wasn't accepted by the Spanish community because I wasn't fair-skinned to be Spanish. And I wasn't too much accepted into the melanated community because I wasn't, because of my accent at the time, I wasn't, I would say, black enough for the black crowd. So my sisterhood growing up consisted of one young lady from Vietnamese, one Caucasian female, and one young lady from Dominican Republic, and a mulatto girl and myself. So we were just like a little chess mix. So they were my sisters. I consider them sisters growing up. But it was hard because I faced a lot of difficulties, and I was coming from, at the time, my father, he was going job to job, and my father, he helped a lot of communities. He was a truck driver, and he did his time. I can say it. He was a coyote. Okay. A coyote is an individual that crosses people on the border. My dad has brought 8-month-old babies, 9-month-old. And he's very respected in our community for what he did and how he helped families bring them together. But because of that job he was doing at the time, he did do some time in Texas for that. That job back in the day was common. A lot of people, it was common to just go back and forth. So once he stopped doing that and he did the time, our income. So I was, I was raised wearing my sister's secondhand clothes, wearing clothes from Goodwill, Salvation Army. But my mom she was a sewer, so she would always clean the clothes, sew them, or make me something to try to keep up with the girls. But yeah, they weren't really friendly at school. And I went to a school that was preliminary, all Caucasian. So there was only 2 Black people, and I was one of them.
I mean, you're in Boston, right?
Yeah, but I live 48 minutes from Boston. Boston's a city. I'm actually from a small town called Salem. I don't know if Salem Witch Trials, Salem. So that's where I was raised, and then I moved to another town called Marblehead after that, which is close by. But those towns are like not city. They're like kind of like this town, very slow paced. So it was tough growing up, especially having parents that can't speak English. I was always used as the translator, and then some things as a child you don't want to know. So my mom would go to the doctors, or if there was something happening at home where I had to speak for my mom. So I was like talking about things that I shouldn't know, because I was the only one that spoke English, or my sisters. And then I was responsible for doing my applications at school. And then I would tell my mom, you have to fill this application for a school field trip. And she wouldn't understand it because it's in English. So I would fill it out in my writing and sign it.
So your older sister didn't speak English?
They did. My older sister, she came a little later from back home.
Right.
And then my other sister, my mom sent her back home for a little bit. So it was just me for a while. So
I would kind of have to grow up earlier, right?
It's too early. I would go to school. They'd be like, you can't go on a field trip because you forged your mom's signature. But it's not that I'm doing something bad. My mom don't know how to fill these things out. But later on in time, that changed. They started doing applications in Spanish and stuff. But it was difficult. I went through a lot of difficulties in the school system, with teachers understanding me and trying to assist me. So I didn't use a lot of my talents like I should. And I did go through a rebel stage where I was just like, you don't understand me. You don't listen to me. Let me just be bad. So.
Right. Yeah, do right. Thank you for sharing that, because that what you just said right there is powerful. Like, you see, you're not first generation, but you might as well be, because the struggle is the same.
Yeah.
And that's amazing to share. So now let's take this, dark, and let's put some light to it. So do you think your upbringing have some influence to do with like your taste now? Because I know you're a designer now. You have your own boutique, online boutique and stuff. So how does that influence you to be doing what you're doing now?
I was motivated. So growing up, I liked to read. I was a big reader, and I always wanted to do bigger and better. And my family, you're taught to be a good wife, to be a good woman. They won't encourage you to go to school.
Right.
I wanted something different because I saw my older sisters in that lifestyle. I saw my mother in that lifestyle. And I saw what happens when a man leaves the household. What happens? No education, no money. You start over, which is what happened to my mother. So I said, I'm going to school. So I ended up going to school. At first, some of my family members weren't supportive. They said, oh, you're going to fail, or do this. So I actually went to school and kept it a secret and only told my mom. Just to protect. And I believe that when you're silent about things, it's better. To keep things silently before they become... Listen, everything in life that I've accomplished, I'm quiet and silent about it. So I have 3 degrees. I have an associate's degree in liberal arts. I have an associate's degree in nursing, and I have a bachelor's degree in nursing. And I'm currently working on my master's as we speak. But those things elevated me. Education is big. So as I became more educated, my taste became bigger, my mind became broader, and then I was always a business girl. I started working since I was 13. I had my own dog walking company. I did my own applications and stuff. And then I used to sell like hair products that I used to make at home that my mom used to teach me to grow, my hair. And my mom, she was like a seamstress. She used to sew.
Right.
And I was always a fashionista. So I went to school, I became a nurse, and becoming a nurse kind of put me in a financial flexibility. So I invested into my clothing brand, or my boutique, I would say. And then I started selling natural hair products. There's a recipe I have for dreads. It's called Jumbo Roots. It's for natural hair, dreadlocks, and for women or men that are battling alopecia. And it's beautiful for skin as well. And then I have my clothing boutique, which is L'Amour to Exclusive. I want financial freedom. That's the goal.
So you were saying like reading and also like just your mom resourcefulness from a kid, but you've always had the idea of like style since you were a kid.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Because I had to so I would go to mom would take us to the Salvation Army. So I wanted to keep up with the girls.
Right.
So I would always like watch TV and see what's in. So I would take the clothes that I have, cut them, and fix them so it could look like something brand new. So I was very good at putting outfits together, and I always got great compliments. Right. And little did they know I was wearing, secondhand. And there's nothing wrong with wearing secondhand because I think 3 years ago I bought a few things secondhand. And furniture, I still have secondhand furniture. So I mean, that's what kind of made me the fashionista, I would say, was being able to have little resources and making it into something.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. So now let's go back to, kind of close up a little bit is America being a land of opportunities, right?
Yeah, it definitely is.
What are the things that, apart from like your degree, what are the things that you think America have taught you or been like a benefit of being growing up here?
I'm very grateful. I mean, I don't want to bash our country. I am patriotic. I'm very proud to be here. I'm very grateful for the safety that we have. We have a lot that we're dealing with, but let me tell you, we're safe at the time. But there is a lot of opportunities, and that's why I have little compassion for people that complain.
Right.
For people that are unemployed but are physically fit. I'm talking physically and mentally.
Right.
I don't have, because this is a place where there's a lot of outreach. There's a lot of programs. There's a lot of help out there to better yourself. So if you want to live a certain lifestyle, you can. You just got to put the work in. And I think there's a lot of lazy people here. Right. They want certain things, but they don't want to work towards it. So this is the land of opportunity, but you have to take advantage of the opportunity. It's not going to be given to you. You have to sacrifice.
You have to earn it.
You have to earn it and show dedication and want it. Yeah.
So what do you think you lost by being here?
What did I lose? A little bit of my identity. Because even when I go back home, I don't feel 100% like I belong.
Right. And then when you're here,
yeah,
you also like them. Same here.
Yeah. So that's all. That's one of the things that I wish. Like, I see my cousins, and I'm like, damn, I wish I was a part of this. Or there's a lot of family events that I wish I was a part of. Or like, I wish I spoke the language better. I would be married if I was back home already. And so.
All right. So
yeah.
Now, let's finish with this. This one is just a personal question for me. I'm just a little bit I've researched a little bit about like Aztecs. I always think like the Mayan stories is just beautiful and just like amazing.
Yep.
Do you have any story that you can tell me or anything you've learned from like just being in Honduras, that you can share about like the
Yeah.
Aztecs and the Mayans and stuff?
I well, our tradition has some of their culture mixed into us, and what I can share with you, because even they're like us. They're very secretive,
Right,
and we take pride and we're very protective of our culture.
right.
So, but what I could share with the public about the religion and the life, there's more to us, there's more to God, and explore the land. Explore the land, explore yourself, explore Earth, and you would know more about yourself.
What do you mean explore Earth? What do you mean by that?
There's more.
Like
There's
going hiking?
going hiking,
Okay.
taking
Traveling?
off your shoes,
Oh, okay. Like
and
walking barefoot?
walking barefoot, touching a tree. If you're sick, if you're sad, touch a tree.
Just connect more with nature, basically.
Connect way more with nature.
That's an Asian wisdom.
Way more. That's as far as I can say.
So what do you think is the... Thank you for answering that. Sorry to interrupt. So what do you think is the greatest misconception about Honduras people?
I don't know. I just think my people are so special. I think we're the Wakandas.
All right, so
Yeah.
describe your people with one word.
One
One word.
word. Damn.
Yeah.
Let me see. Natives. We don't believe we were enslaved. We were captured. We weren't taught that we came on a boat. We weren't taught that Christopher Columbus brought us here. We hold that we've been here for many years. So that's why I say Wakanda, like we're like the Wakanda. So
Thank you so much, Tina. I appreciate you so much for coming.
this was
through.
fun.
It was just amazing, yo. You deserve. And I
got your
think
rainbow.
you just started like a whole version of my podcast, because I think now that I've talked to you, I would love to talk to more people that are second generation. Because I can see like I'm also, not only am I missing their point of view, like your point of view, I'm also missing like what it was like, because I think like you just point out, the first generations are not the only one that did the work.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a lot of generations to kind of get out of all that. You know, but still, thank you for the time. I appreciate you so much for doing this.